Hey there, campers. My name's Kimmy.
And my name's Ryan.
We've noticed you stumbled upon our mystical campfire, so that means there's a solid chance you have some questions. Like,
why am I here? What's going on? And why are there cryptid and folklore creatures everywhere? And should I be worried about the Mothman dressed as a camp counselor swooping down to steal my s'mores?
well, you've stumbled upon the Alluring Campgrounds. Alluring is a folklore podcast where every episode we dive into the history and lore of different creatures and cryptids you see wandering around these campgrounds.
And during each episode, we discuss the sightings, encounters, poems, history, fun, facts, and pop culture focused on our campfire topic that week. We hope through shared experience we can learn and make light about all the unknown corners of the universe.
So come take a seat around the campfire, make yourself at home, and listen to Alluring Today anywhere podcasts are heard. Or watch videos on YouTube, or even go to our website, alluring.com. That's ALOREING.com.
I'm Felicia.
I'm Ian.
And we are the Paranormal Lovers. Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
Welcome back to another week of the Paranormal Lovers. Week dun 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 10.
Lucky episode 10.
Episode 10.
Can't believe we made it to 10.
Honestly, I can't either. Like, I keep looking at the calendar, I'm like, oh, we've been doing this for like 2.5 months now. What? May this be the longest job I ever have had.
I like it. I like working with you again.
I miss working with you. It's been fun.
Yeah.
What'd you love about this week, Bill?
This week, I loved having the day off on Friday from my actual job.
Yeah, was
oh, man.
Friday the day that we had like high wind advisories and stuff?
Yes, it was.
Oh, yeah, because you picked up Patty and came home and you had to sit in the truck because there was like, the rain was coming down in sheets.
The supercell that was right on our area hit like right when I picked up my kid from school, and we had to sit in the truck.
Yeah, it was a blast. We had a big branch come down, but luckily no damage, knock on wood.
But I got to play I got to play Kerbal Space Program. It was great.
This man in Kerbal.
I love it.
You're such a dork. I might have to think about what I love this week. It was a bit of a rough week. We had a sick kid for the first 3 days this week, but I don't know. Just being able to get outside. It was like 70 something this week.
Yeah,
and like that did so good for my seasonal affective disorder.
Yeah, the couple of days it was warm, it was great. I just had to work.
Yeah, that sucked. I got to just hang out outside and do yard work, but I'm glad to be getting back in it. I want to shout out before we start this episode. I got a lot of the information from this episode from Conspiracy Theory, a Spotify original from Parcast. They're great. I used to listen to them when I worked at the hemp place over in Asheville a couple of years ago, and then I started doing this stuff and started listening to other ones, but then I was like, oh yeah, I remember them.
Right.
They're great. So, this week I have for you a conspiracy. I'm going to let you know, I feel a little insane after doing this. Like, there was so much to this, and I went off on like so many like side quests and down rabbit holes that had nothing to do with like the basis of this story.
Right.
I cut out like 3 pages of my notes just because they weren't
relevant
to the story, but I was intrigued.
Right.
Hello ADHD. But that being said, conspiracy theories have been around since the dawn of mankind. Since recorded history, since history has been recorded, there has been conspiracies about that history which has been recorded.
Right.
Like I've said before, history is written by the victors, and it's not always the truth.
Right.
There's 3 sides to every story. The 2 people involved, and then the truth.
Right.
And of course, pop culture takes anything it can get its hands into on and makes it a movie or a TV show.
Sure.
Now, I've never seen this movie called The Philadelphia Experiment. Have you seen it?
Maybe.
It came out in 1984, so you would have been 3.
Right.
I didn't even know it existed until I started my research, but I had heard about this from, ironically, conspiracy theory. So you have like MK Ultra, which was an influence for Stranger Things, Area 51, UFOs or aliens giving inspiration for such things as Roswell, which I remember watching Roswell when I was younger. There was one that came on, and I want to say it was like the WB at the time.
Right.
Do you remember WB channel?
Yep.
And there's a new one out now on the CW.
Yep.
Go figure. Nail polish?
I think I've seen both of those.
It's interesting, but, you know, teenage drama shows.
Right.
So today I'm going to be taking you up through the events leading up to, during, and after the alleged, and I'm going to say alleged a lot, and claims a lot,
right.
Philadelphia experiment. And there's a lot of people involved in this. There's many layers to it. There's a lot of conspiracies that branches off of this conspiracy, so they're all going to get their own episode.
Sure.
All right. So Carl Allen, or Carlos Allende, as was his pseudonym, was born in Pennsylvania in May of 1925. The oldest of 5 children, he had, quote, a fantastic mind, end quote, but didn't really seem to apply himself in his work. He would rather spend his time pulling pranks. We all know one of those.
Yeah.
In 1942, he joined the Marine Corps and was discharged less than a year later. After that, he would join the U.S. Merchant Marines until 1953, when he left the service.
Merchant Marines?
Yeah. I meant to look up what they were. I didn't. I've heard of them before.
Right.
Not entirely sure. But he would later claim, 2 years later, he would make his claim of witnessing the USS Eldridge turn invisible and be teleported.
Oh, yeah.
Right
Okay.
in front of his eyeballs.
Now it's coming back.
It's coming back. He would also claim not only did he meet Albert Einstein, he spent weeks under the tutelage of the brilliant theoretical physicist. I say a lot of big words in this episode, so buckle up. One of the things that he learned during this time was the unified field theory, which he alleges was the basis for the Philadelphia experiment.
Sure.
Carl found the book, The Case for the UFO, written by Morris Jessup. In it, Jessup talks about the Einstein's unified field theory. And this is when Carl decides to write Jessup a letter about his experience. Oh boy. But before that, let's talk about Jessup.
Seems like I've heard that name before.
I'm sure you have. Morris Ketchum Jessup was an astronomer who specialized in the propulsion of UFOs. He was born in Indiana in March of 1900. That's anybody that was born at, 100-year mark. Special people.
Yeah.
He had many different jobs. I don't know how. He had a lot of jobs. He taught astronomy and mathematics at Drake University and the University of Michigan. He operated at one point what was the largest refracting telescope in the southern hemisphere at the time.
Nice.
He would also participate in archaeological studies of the Mayan ruins.
Cool.
During the time of the alleged Philadelphia experiment, from 41 to 43, he worked for the Murray Corporation of America, who at the time made stamped steel parts for automobiles. After this, he spent some time as a federal employee, but his FBI file does not list a job title.
The Man in Black?
Sus. In 1955 is when Jessup wrote The Case for the UFO, in which he speaks on Einstein's theory. I'm going to keep this simple because I could probably understand it if somebody sat down and explained it to me for a couple of years.
Field theory?
But what I could gather is the unified field theory theorizes there is a master equation. And with this equation, things like teleportation, invisibility, and time travel would be possible. And when I say simple, that is bare bones of it.
Right.
Like, there's a lot that goes into it. It's a lot more complicated and complex.
Sure.
I am not a physicist. I am not a theorist. No. If you want to learn more, go look it up.
I know a little bit about field theory, but...
I mean, I do now, but, like, I'm not... This isn't a science podcast, so...
Black holes and such.
Yeah.
But, you know.
In the letter...
Go ahead.
In the letter Jessup received, Carl claims that while he was on the deck cleaning, he watched as the USS Eldridge was covered in a blue-green light, and then it vanished right before his eyes. Something else he noticed was when the ship vanished, it left an indentation in the water, as if it was literally still sitting there.
Huh, so it just turned invisible.
It turned invisible, but wait, there's more. Some accounts differ on how long it was, but according to Carl, about 10 minutes later, the ship suddenly popped back into view. And with it came cries and screams of pain and anguish. Oh, buttons. While two men who came forward later, we will talk about later, claimed to have escaped the ship only to have their own unique experiences, many of them fared much worse. At least one man was partially fused to the ship.
Where were they?
What do you mean?
Like, were they off the Atlantic?
Okay, sorry. That would help, wouldn't it? So it's called the Philadelphia experiment because allegedly it happened in Philadelphia, a Philadelphia shipyard.
Oh, okay.
Which is higher up than like the graveyard of the Atlantic.
I just wondered if they were like in the Bermuda Triangle.
No.
Bermuda.
Allegedly, it was supposed to have teleported from Philadelphia to Norfolk, Virginia. And then back. While being invisible.
Interesting.
And when it came back, there was a man fused to the ship.
Right, like people sticking out of the walls.
And some of them combusted. Just exploded.
Right.
And others just disappeared and they never came back.
Huh.
They're just gone.
Spooky.
Poof. Jessup thought it was a hoax until he got a weird package. In the package was a copy of his book. A used copy of his book. All through the pages, there were notes and correspondence between 3 authors of the notes. Considering what the book was about, it's the case for the UFO, and the notes written within, the authors seemed to be well educated on a variety of topics within the STEM field. They had written of such things as alien races, UFO technology, magnetic fields, and the Philadelphia experiment. ONR, the Office of Naval Research, somehow gets involved. Honestly, I missed a lot of that conspiracy theory, the episodes on it, so I'd advise y'all go listen to it because, oh boy, I get distracted sometimes. And they attempt to find out who sent the package, but they couldn't figure it out. And in 1957, they called Jessup to come in for a meeting. During the meeting, Jessup was able to recognize one of the handwritings in the book as that of Carl Allen. The ONR tried to find Carl. The ONR couldn't find Carl. The Varro company, this is just a weird company. It's just a random company.
That's how the Men in Black work.
Like, they were a manufacturer that worked for the government, but the stuff on them is just weird.
Right.
So, they got the book from the ONR and they made exactly 127 copies. The copies included typed versions of the notes in the margins. And those were dubbed the Varro edition.
Well.
Weird, but okay. Jessup was given a few copies of the Varro edition. He then shared them at a clandestine meeting he had with a few other researchers. During the meeting, he made some disturbing remarks that led the others to believe that he feared for his life.
Wow.
Well,
That's how conspiracies go, I guess, right?
what happens? What happens? What usually happens when people start freaking out thinking that somebody's coming for them. Just because you think everybody's out to get you does not mean they're not out to get you.
Right.
Things took a turn for Jessup after that. His wife left him, and he began isolating himself from the rest of the world. Trigger for one unaliving themselves. It's going to be a minute because we're going to talk about stuff, so, you know. On 4/20 of 1959, Jessup was found in his car dead of an apparent suicide.
Well, I was going to go, ba-doo, ba-doo, ba-doo. But
Yeah, no, that's not appropriate. Not appropriate.
Nope. Not the right 420.
No, unfortunately not. I mean, if it makes you feel any better, it's also Hitler's birthday, so
Right.
it's not always a great day.
No.
Friends and acquaintances of his didn't really seem that surprised. After all, he had canceled plans with quite a few of them over the time leading up to his death. But those closest to him and Sergeant Ted Oberchain felt it didn't add up.
Right.
Sergeant Oberchain felt that certain aspects of the method of the suicide were quite, quote, too professional. Oh, Sergeant Oberchain felt that certain aspects of the method of the suicide were, quote, unquote, too professional. The level of detail that went into making sure the car was airtight and to make sure that the hose would not accidentally fall out was very sus.
Right.
Sus, as Bailey would say. Sus.
He got killed.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
You don't wire in the hose into your car typically.
Right.
Like if this is somebody like distressed, you're not typically going to have that much forethought
Yeah.
to do that. And so, yep, conspiracies about his death being a cover-up.
Sure.
Again, listen to the conspiracy theory episodes because I missed a little bit around this guy, but there's this weird little tidbit of information about a man called Commander X who attempted to investigate his death. Yeah, Commander X. I see you wanting to laugh over there. Ridiculous. Allegedly, when he tried to get a look at the autopsy, he found out that there was no autopsy performed.
So maybe he faked his death.
I mean, maybe, but I don't know. Thing is, like, he didn't burn up or anything. He died of carbon monoxide poisoning.
Right.
So, dental records, DNA, fingerprints, all that stuff would have been right there. His face, you know, for them to identify him. So, the story rested until 1979 when William Moore and Charles Burlett interviewed Carl after inquiring his letters to Jessup. After his meeting, the two researchers wrote a book about the experiment. The rights to the story were then bought by Thorne EMI and made into a fiction movie, The Philadelphia Experiment. And Thorne EMI is a British production company. Now here's where we get more allegations of the government doing some shady shit.
Right.
3 days before the film was to be released in the U.S., and keep in mind these are allegations.
Yeah.
Okay, it's just a funny podcast. Ha ha, hee hee. Don't come at me. Thorne received a threatening letter from the U.S. government demanding that they stop the release of the film within the U.S.
Well.
Thorne ignored the letter and released the film 2 months after the Ghostbusters came out.
Nice.
Right around the time that Elle escaped from the laboratory in Hawkins.
Right.
They got a second letter with the same demands.
It was Elle's fault.
It was Elle's fault. They responded asking to see a court order, which they were swiftly given. Again, allegations, no correspondence between the production company and the U.S. government have ever actually been released or found. That being said, it is alleged that the movie was banned for 2 years in the U.S. before the ruling was overturned. I could have done more research and went more into depth into that, but
right.
I'm more fascinated. Like, that's not part of the...
Sure.
Yeah. But for one man, he claims that watching the movie started to bring back memories that had been erased from his mind.
So maybe he had been on there on the ship.
Al Balick came forward after watching the movies, claiming to be a survivor of the Philadelphia experiment in 1990. Now, if what Balick claims to be true about his life, he should have been the Dos Equis man, because he is the most interesting man on Earth. Al claims to have been on the ship during the attempt witnessed by Carl as someone else. Someone else. He claims he was born in 1916 as Ed Cameron. He graduated from Princeton in 1932 and then went to Harvard, where he also graduated. He and his brother were on the ship that night, and as he noticed the machine started to malfunction, he and his brother jumped off the ship into the sea. But this is where it gets funky. Wherever that ship went, Ed, quote unquote, Al, they didn't go there. Him and his brother were transported to 2137. I swear to God, when I was writing this paragraph, I was like, this man just pulled some numbers out of his ass and went with it. Because, what, 2137?
The year 2137?
Yeah, the year 2137.
Wild.
He spent 6 weeks there with his brother before Al, by himself, was thrust forward into 2749, where he spent 2 years living in a world controlled by AI.
I mean, I could see that.
I see it coming. Then, without warning, he was transported back to 2137, where he met up with his brother, and then him and his brother were transported back to, I think it was 1983,
right,
where the government got control of him, wiped his memories, sent him back to 1927 to be born again as Al Balick.
Okay, that's wild.
I was sitting there trying to, like, I'm really confused about some of this, because I'm not sure if all of his claims of, like, what else he did are supposed to be as his life as Ed or as his life as Al.
Right.
Yeah, I was a little confusing with all that, but wowza. Once I figured that part out, I was like, this man's...
Sounds like an interesting dude.
But wait, there's more. When it comes to the Philadelphia experiment, he claims that the brains behind the experiment was none other than Nikola Tesla.
Nice.
He worked with a few more extremely bright minds within the STEM field at the time.
I was gonna say the brain from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No, not the brain from Hannibal McFist either.
Right.
It would seem that Tesla was involved with the first two attempts, which were like unmanned attempts, before what was allegedly witnessed in 1943. After World War II, Tesla started to defy the government with some of the experiments they wanted him to try. He was like, I ain't doing that. That shit cuckoo banana nut man. No.
Right.
So he got fired. John von Neumann took over the experiments, and 10 months later, Tesla was found dead in his apartment. I'm just saying.
Poor Tesla.
Poor Tesla. He was like, I just want to make shit be invisible and teleport, and y'all trying to murder me. And this is the part where I get confused about whether this was...
They just wanted his car.
Yeah. Wait. What? Oh, God. I do not understand your need to be a Tesla, bro. I really don't. I don't. It's turning into incel behavior, man. Now this is where I get confused on whether this was Ed or Al. But he claims to have worked in a mind control program run by the U.S. government. They would use it on employees that had been involved in many of the other clandestine projects that were going on within the government.
The government been trying to do that for a long time.
Well, I mean, we all know MK Ultra was a thing, so
yeah,
even before they admitted to it. Hang on, let me take a swallow. Hey, you guys, go take a drink of water. You should hydrate.
As Graham Greene would say, hydro homies.
So refreshing. So what happened with the Philadelphia experiment and the theory that was used behind it, at least according to Al, was then used to jumpstart other projects. I can't talk today.
Projects.
Thank you. Such as the Montauk Project and the Phoenix Project. And just a little fun fact. The Philadelphia experiment is not the official name of this project. Do you want to know what the official name of this project was?
What was the name of it?
Project Rainbow.
Nice.
Yay! What?
Maybe because it separates all the color. Rainbow separates all the colors.
Probably has something to do with refracting lights and stuff.
Right.
But I was still like, okay, Hello Kitty. My Little Pony, what up?
Take them to the My Little Pony universe.
My Little Pony level on Diablo. Then ponies are going to fuck you up.
It's horrifying.
It's terrifying. Unicorns coming at you, big old teddy bears. Cupcakes, aren't there cupcakes that try to kill you too?
The clouds.
The clouds. Rainbows.
Little bouncy clouds.
Attacking you and stuff. We've played a little bit of Diablo with our kid, but we haven't went to that level yet. And she's, oh Lord.
She's in for a treat when we do.
She ain't gonna know what to do. So to get back to Al, he said that after the Philadelphia experiment, the Project Phoenix Project kind of took over where they left off with the Philly. And
rising from the ashes.
Yeah, pretty much. They were supposed to research what exactly had went wrong with the Philadelphia experiment. Allegedly, some of the technology that was used in the Phoenix Project was from the crash in Roswell. And I guess they got it right. Sometime in the 1950s, they were actually able to teleport a ship and her crew invisible from one location to another with nobody getting hurt. But we'll do the Phoenix Project another day.
Right on.
As for Al himself, my lord, this man, he just does it all. He's been to Mars. He's been to other planets to collect samples of light and dark matter. That's went back to 100,000 BC.
Nice.
He went as far in the future as 6037.
Wow.
The most interesting man.
Right.
In the world. Yeah. Al's on something.
Right.
One other report that I heard, it was just a little snippet. It would seem there was a group of British sailors hanging around the shipyard in Norfolk that night. They claimed they saw a shape forming in the fog, and right before their eyes, the USS Eldridge appeared.
Right.
It hung around for a minute.
I think I remember that part of the story.
And then it disappeared.
Yep.
Oh, how drunk were you, though? You just didn't notice that it was
I'm sure their superiors thought that.
Right.
What are you talking about?
Right. So, here's one case against it. The logbook. Now, you could be skeptical and say the logbook says they were in Boston that night. It was docked in Boston that night.
Right.
Right? But I mean, if you're the U.S. government, how hard would it be for you to tweak a logbook?
It's true.
I mean, let's be realistic here. But then again, like, why would you? You know, like, nobody's going to believe that, like, especially not in the 1950s. Nobody's going to believe the government's teleporting. That shit, like, was Star Trek even around in the 1950s? That was probably, like, right when it started, wasn't it?
I think it was 60s before Star Trek.
Like, that was a foreign freaking concept back then.
There was a little bit of sci-fi stuff going on. You had, like, War of the Worlds and Jules Verne stuff, but...
Hey, yo, Jules Verne has a whole thing about Brown Mountain Lights.
Yep.
Should go read it.
He does.
It's on Thrift Books. Not an ad, but it could be. But there's also this little thing where supposedly Carl wrote a letter to a family member and said that his whole account was the biggest pack of lies he ever told. So, I don't know. I don't know if anybody has a copy of that letter, but...
Right.
But I mean, what are the chances? When I was doing research for this, I stumbled on a few articles that had comments on it. And, oh, my grandpa was there that night on that ship across the shipyard. Oh, well, my uncle was sailing by in a ship and he saw it disappear too. Like,
right.
It's interesting because I'm like, but did he? So there are, like, this isn't the only account. Carl's not the only account of this actually happening.
You got to think about why the government would either, deny it or admit it. One, two.
Well, I mean, and that's what, like, I'd love to live in a bubble and believe that the government's just doing what it should, and it would never do anything like this, and it would never hide secrets from us. But I mean, what's the transparency we're getting here?
Or they might deny it, trying to make people think it's real, so that the other countries would be, oh god, they got teleportation, like
right, yeah, like a disinformation campaign. Yeah.
Same thing with like all the flying saucers and stuff in the 50s. They wanted the Russians to think that we had these under our control,
Mm-hmm. Like, as long as they're gonna have a redacted file, or as long as they're gonna have a project marked as classified, people are going to wonder about it. Why can't we know about it?
Right.
Like, and I understand there's this whole, like, national security thing, but you're a public servant. You're supposed to do what we're telling you to do.
Yeah, it's
like,
true.
You work for us.
They do.
Like, you work for us. And you're just like, yeah, so I know what it would be. They'd be like, well, we're doing it for you. We're doing it for America. The safety and sanctity of this country. This is America.
Yeah.
Like, shut the hell up. I don't give a shit if it's America or Mexico or...
Because the Russians thinking we have lasers up in space is going to make me feel safer.
The Russian... Yeah, thank you, Marjorie Taylor Greene, for that little tidbit about the Jews and their lasers starting forest fires in California. You dumb... So now it's funny though, is I sold my car that had that sticker. My father-in-law got 2 stickers after she said that said what was it, like, super secret Jewish space laser core?
Yep.
Which some guy, I think he like sold them on Etsy or Amazon or something.
Yeah, they were homemade.
After she said that, so now that sticker is on a car that I sold to my dear friend, who is a lovely Mexican man, and I love him so much. And so I can imagine if people see that, and then they see him, and they're like, I'm confused.
Yeah, I bet it confuses a lot of people.
Not to mention there's like witchy stickers on that car and stuff too, so they're like, what? All right. Thank you guys for joining us on our 10th episode. Yay. We have a couple of things new going on right now. We do have a YouTube channel, and we have a couple videos. Our first 2 episodes.
We sure do.
are up in video format on YouTube. Just search The Paranormal Lovers. So if you have any friends or older people that don't necessarily do podcasts, they can go on YouTube and watch the video.
Check them out there. Like, comment, and subscribe.
Yeah, it's they're not live videos of us doing it. It's just like a picture with the audio over it. But we got to figure out the camera situation so we can get some.
Yeah, we'll work on
live video going.
Getting more stuff going on.
And we also have a Patreon now.
Woohoo!
You can find us on Patreon. We have a single tier.
Listen early.
Called Lover's Lane. We will be releasing episodes early every week. We will have live Q&As. And I feel like there's one more other than the general support, which is just, you guys helping us out with buying stuff and whatnot. There was something else, but I don't remember what it was. But you will get that. And there's a poll up right now on there. Yay.
Join our Patreon.
Yeah, we'd appreciate that. If not, share it. Share it with some people you think might be interested in it. Let them know about the pod. Tell them to come listen. You can follow us on Instagram at The Paranormal Lovers. Send us an email at theparanormallovers@yahoo.com. Just send us an email. It'd be nice to see something other than Google or Buzzsprout in the inbox every once in a while.
Yep.
Just say hi. Just be like, hi.
Ask us anything you want.
Yep. All right, guys. We will see you next week for another spooky, spooky tale.
See you next week, guys.
Bye.
Bye.